What's up, Heat Nation? Your boy Ernest here, back with another Miami Heat Talk video. Thank you so much for everyone that has liked and subscribed to the channel. If you haven't, make sure you do it. I got Amir from Team to Be today. We're doing the very first episode of what we like to call the Heat Check. This is where Amir and we're going to come together every couple of weeks or so, you guys, give you guys some insights, let you know some opinions we got going on about the Heat. You know, we got the round table, but this is something a little bit different. Amir, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing good, Ernest, man. Pretty pumped after a big victory. I mean, we should have won, obviously, but it was nice to see them actually win big in the fourth quarter and put the Raptors away. So we knew the Raptors had to lose last night. So they actually locked in I think their sixth seed. So
Yep.
they had to lose one more game, which kind of scares me to a certain degree because they don't have to lose anymore right now. Their draft pick is locked in for next year, that lottery pick. And
Yep.
so in theory, the Raptors could try to play spoiler to the Heat and try to keep us in the eighth seed because if the Miami Heat lose tomorrow, we'll be in the eighth seed. And there's also a trend that I've noticed this season. The Miami Heat have never been 10 games above 500 all year long. We're at 9 games above 500. And every time we've got that close, we've lost that game. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I think we're going to destroy them tomorrow, but you never know with this Miami Heat team, right? Every game that they were supposed to win, we've lost, right? We failed, like as you've mentioned in your video that you posted today. So
Yeah, and to add to that, bro, it doesn't matter what NBA team you're playing. Doesn't matter how crap they are. You know, we know this is like the best competitive league out there. It's the best players that play. Even if you have a crap record, you know, you can win. You can still win a game. And we all know in the NBA, it is tough to win the second night of a back-to-back when you're playing the same team. So you do make a point, but I will say this: I think the Heat are going to keep it competitive. They're going to keep it serious because that last game is not for nothing. And bro, being a pro wrestler, seeing like how the NBA is finishing and where the standings are, man, I feel like they do this for the story sometimes because look at the situation we're at, Amir. The Miami Heat, yeah, we're the eighth seed. We're 9 games above 500, but we're only a game down from the fifth seed. There's a possibility that the Heat can actually come out of the play-in tournament. Now, I posted a video about it earlier today. If you guys haven't checked it out, please watch that video. But I wanted to go a little bit different and get somebody else's perspective on that because a couple days ago, people were talking about maybe sitting our players to because we felt like we were going to be in the play-in. Now we have a chance of getting out, my man. So I got to ask you, Amir, what do you think is the likelihood of the Miami Heat getting out this play-in situation?
honestly, slightly low at this point because I know we should win. And as long as we win, we're eligible. And the only problem, though, is in order to get the fifth seed, which would be ridiculous, I'd be happy with the sixth seed too. Of course, I think the sixth seed is the better spot because we'd avoid the Celtics bracket. But at this point, just avoiding the play-in, I don't care. Like that's fine if we play the Celtics in the second round, right? But
Yep.
story, to your point, right? It would be better if we got the sixth seed because then we could play Boston for the third straight year in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yep.
But the likelihood is low because in order for the Heat to finish fifth, we would have to win, which should be easy. Then we need Orlando to lose to the Bucks, which is possible. We don't know who's going to be playing. We know Giannis is out. He's not going to play. We don't know if Dame's going to play or if Middleton's going to play. But you mentioned before we hopped on, the Bucks should want to win because they're tied with the Knicks right now. And if the Knicks win and they lose, they're the third seed. And right now the Sixers are the sixth seed. And so
Yep.
they would be playing the Sixers who are really hot. And they just got back Tobias Harris and DeAndre Melton. They're a deep team. I didn't realize how deep they are with Nicholas Batum. He's older, but he's still a good player. They have Campaign. He's not bad. They have Buddy Heald. Like they have a deep team. So, but still, it's going to be tough for the Bucks to win without Giannis. Like so,
Yep.
we'll see who's playing. But either way, the Bucks have to lose. The Sixers have to lose to the Nets, which is going to be unlikely, and then the Pacers have to lose to the Hawks. So the fifth seed, very unlikely, right? I'm going to
Yep.
throw it out, and I think that's a good thing. We don't want it. But the sixth seed is possible. And so I think there's a small chance. I don't think we're going to get the sixth seed. But in order to get the 6th seed, Miami has to win, of course. Orlando has to lose, and then one of the two between Philly and Indiana have to lose. So that's a higher probability. But again, I don't know if it's going to happen, Ernest, because the Nets are 15-point or 14-point underdogs against the Sixers. The
Yep.
Pacers are 13-point favorites against the Hawks, and even the Magic right now, they're favored by -5 at home. So I think it's small. I think it's a higher chance they would get 7th. What do you
Yeah.
think? What are your
So
thoughts?
I think there's a hopefulness side, and then there's the realistic side, which I think is going to happen. Hopefully, you get the 6th seed. Now, here's what I think is the hopeful situation. I don't think Philly's going to lose to Brooklyn, but you never know. Brooklyn can surprise you. You know,
You never know.
when you're playing, man, sometimes you play to spoil. Hey, you know that Philly needs this? Nah, we're gonna break you down. So they can surprise Philly. Chances are Philly's gonna smash them. Atlanta can do it against Indy. Same thing. Atlanta's a play-in team. It's like I've said the other day. It's all about momentum sometimes. You want to get a dub. You can beat a team like Indiana, that's a higher seed than you. You can go into the play-in with confidence. You lose that game, your confidence diminishes. So Atlanta could pull it out. To your point, Milwaukee's got to win that game against Orlando. So I'm sure Dame's playing. I know Giannis is not, so Dame's got to play. I'm confident that my Milwaukee could beat Orlando. So hopefully, at least two of those teams lose. We get the 6th seed. Realistically, bro, the Heat are probably going to get the 7th seed. Realistically. And that's what I want. That's what I want. Look, 6th seed is a dream. It's far-fetched, though. Oh, my God. I pray positivity all the time. My Heat channel here. I really feel we can get the 6th seed. But even if we get the 7th, we have the home court against, let's say, Orlando in the play-in. Win that game. Who do we have in the first round? Milwaukee or New York.
Or the Knicks, yeah.
Or the Knicks. I'm confident against both teams. In a 7-game series, fully healthy with Rozier and hopefully Duncan Robinson back. I know there's no timetable for Duncan, but fully healthy, we can beat either of those teams in the 7-game series. I prefer Milwaukee because the story. I'm all about the story, man. Every time you could bounce Milwaukee in the first round, especially with Milwaukee stealing Damian Lillard from the Miami Heat, a first-round exit by Miami, that story would be beautiful. But I don't care. Like, when I look at the standings, Milwaukee, New York, Cleveland, Orlando, Philly in the first round, I'm confident. Why I don't want Boston in the first round? Because Miami have no momentum going into the playoffs, I feel like. I think we can still do it, but I want Boston in the Eastern Finals. That's just me being greedy. I want Milwaukee in the first round. I want Boston in the Eastern Finals. Do the same thing we did last year. Smash them. Yep. Will it happen? Who knows?
Totally. So I guess I didn't really think of this before we hopped on, that if the Bucks lose and the Knicks win, I don't know who the Knicks are playing. I'll look that up in a second, but I didn't realize that. So I thought like the Bucks would sit everybody, and I don't think that's the case because, again, to your point, the Sixers most likely are going to beat the Nets. Anything can happen, and playing that spoiler role can be fun, for certain teams. And
yeah,
out of those teams, Mikal Bridges is pretty good. Cam Thomas, that guy's ignitable. So like I think that's a higher probability for a spoiler versus like the Hawks playing spoiler, because either way, no matter what, they're not going to get past the 10th seed. They can't get a home game against the Bulls, and Jalen Johnson just got hurt, and a few others are hurt. I don't know if Trey's coming back. I know he's been practicing, so it's less likely, but I still think 7th seed would be the most likely and optimal, because then again we get the home court, and in order for that to happen, which I didn't realize, the Bucks have to beat the Magic, so the Magic will fall to 8th. So to your point, I think you're right. Dame hopefully will play and will be able to win, and if that's the case, we get to the 7th with either us winning, obviously, but if Philly loses or if Orlando loses, one of the two we need. And again, Philly unlikely, Orlando more likely, like that you can lose. And if that happens, we get the home court against the Magic, and that's cake. Like, I know Orlando has a top 10 defense, but they're still young, and we destroyed them during the regular season, right? So worst case scenario is if the Sixers lose and we lose, then the Sixers are 7 and we're 8, and then we have to play them on the road. That could be a horrible scenario because then the Miami Heat would play the winner of the Bulls in that 9-10 game. And the way this Miami Heat team operates, anything can happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't give a shit. We're still going to beat the Bulls. We're still going to beat the Hawks if we get to that point. But hopefully we don't get there. But I think 6th and 7th is what I'm hoping for. Just we need to avoid the 8th. We need to avoid the 8th at all costs.
It's so crazy, man, how it feels like Groundhog's Day. The same scenario that happened last year, we're in it right now. We're the 8th seed with the possibility of playing who? Chicago or Atlanta. The second spot of the play-in. It's exactly the same thing as last year. It's insane, bro. But to your point, I will say this. The fact that Miami has Toronto the last 2 games of the season, that helped. That's helping with all this. Another thing to your point you mentioned earlier about Milwaukee and New York, the reason why they want to win this game also, the loser of whoever loses between that falls to the 3rd seed, you may have Philly in the first round. And I know Milwaukee and New York don't want to see Philly in the first round. Philly, to their record, that's what Joel Embiid injured throughout the season. They're on a 7-game winning streak. Like you mentioned earlier, they're hot. So this is, bro, the last game of the season is probably the most exciting and the most amped up that I'm going to be. And you're thinking like this game against Toronto is going to mean nothing. It's going to mean everything to the Heat. I just hope they don't blow it. I really don't think they will. But it's like you said, Toronto, that's it. They got their draft pick. So they may want to come out with this one. So we got to see what happens, man. Tomorrow's going to be super exciting. I'm going to be watching.
Yeah. And so the Knicks are playing the Bulls tomorrow. I just looked it up. So every team is playing tomorrow. This is like the March Madness of the Eastern Conference seeding. And also I know there's the first seed is up for grabs in the West as well with the Thunder and T-Wolves. And so it's not as crazy as the East. But the Knicks are favored by -16 to beat the Bulls at home. They're at home. So that's going to be tough, but that's also a good thing for us. We want the Knicks to be favored by -16 because then that means the Bucks have to win, right? They also have to win. So that's a good thing for us.
No, tomorrow's going to be crazy. Crazy exciting, man. I'm going to be watching, man. So before we close it out, man, I got one more for you. Tomorrow's game against Toronto, you think anybody sits? Like Jimmy, Bam, Caleb, you think they all playing?
God, that's so tough, man. I don't think they earned the right to sit at this point, especially when they lost against the Sixers and they lost against the Pacers and then the Mavs. If they won one of those games, we're in a different scenario. Obviously, if we look back at any of the other losses in the beginning of the year against even the Bulls twice, we lost to the Bulls twice. We lost to the Nets twice. But then the worst losses were against Memphis, obviously with that game when they had nobody, and then also most recently a few weeks ago at home against the Wizards. But
absolutely,
I don't think they earned the right, but you never know with Spo. I could in theory see him sitting both Bam and Jimmy, which would be nuts. But I think Terry, Duncan are not going to play. I think Jimmy's going to play limited minutes based on the lead. I think he's going to play passive again, which I was fine with him taking 8 shots total yesterday. That's different than a must-win type of game against the Pacers or Mavs. But no, I don't think Jimmy and Bam are going to sit. What do you think to close out?
I think everyone's going to play. There's no point sitting. I think with Jimmy and Bam, monitor the minutes. If you have a good lead, bring them out. We saw last night the game was maintained by Jovic, Jaquez. You had guys like Tyler Hero doing this thing. So I think, at this point, just let Jimmy and Bam start the game, feel it out, see where it goes, pull them in the second half if you're winning by a lot, bring them back in if you need to. Right now, you want to give guys like Jimmy, Caleb, Bam, especially. Bam's been doing it all year, man. So you want to give them a little bit of a break, get them ready for a possible playing game. Bro, if we can get out of the play-in, the whole point is the Heat are going to have a week off. And that's also good for guys like Duncan Robinson, Terry Rozier. We need a fully healthy roster. It's like we've been saying all year long, man. Fully healthy roster in a 7-game series. I'm confident against any team in the East. So, Amir, I want to thank you so much for coming on, brother. This was the first episode of the Heat Check. We got episode 2 coming up. Amir is going to be posting it on his channel. Don't forget to go to Team to Beat, Miami Heat, guys. For all my subscribers, if you haven't yet, give Amir's channel a like. Don't forget to subscribe. My channel as well. Like, subscribe to the channel. Amir, anywhere else these people can find you, man, let them know.
Yeah, you can find me at, like Ernest mentioned, Team to Beat Miami Heat. That's my YouTube channel. And you could also find my podcast now on Spotify as well. So under the same name. And then starting to use Twitter a little bit more. I don't even know my name. Is it it's just my name, Amir Motameni, Motameni. So thanks again, Ernest, for having me. This is fun. I'm happy we're starting the series. So more good content coming for you guys soon. So thanks again.
Let's go. And that's enough said. Have a great day, guys.